Welcome on the live show. This is your host Adnan Maksud, and listen, everybody. If you can hear me loud and clear, please write right below this video. Type right below this video that you can hear me loud and clear. And also, we're gonna rely on today on you that because although I can hear my guest, but very low, but I didn't want to miss that opportunity because we already scheduled this broadcast to cross post all over different platforms. It's YouTube and all the Facebook pages. But I hope that you will be able to enjoy this broadcast today. And make sure you share on your Facebook timeline. And I believe this word is very urgent that Shawn shares. And I'm telling you that I have had people literally texting me his YouTube link to have me like listen to this word. And I'm like, this is so prophetic and this is so timely that although I'm interviewing him, but people ahead of time, it's never happened. But I could just sense the urgency right now. So make sure you share this on your Facebook timeline, wherever you can watch, share, whether it's a YouTube, Twitter. Now you can share things on Twitter as well. So, and Facebook. So without any further delay, I want to welcome one and only my good friend, Shawn Bolz. Thank you so much for coming
Hello.
on, sir.
I'm so glad to be back.
So, I think you have posted a word that just created a buzzword,
Yeah.
a pivotal movement. And I think a lot of people been praying and asking God for a word that coming through your ministry. So tell me, first of all, what was that? How did you actually come up with the word? Where was it after prayer, fasting, and
No, it's really interesting because I always ask God for a word for the new year, and just it was back in January, and I kept seeing a chessboard over and over and over, and then just haunted me throughout the year. Just at times, sometimes it'd be in times of prayer, and I would see a chessboard. Now, God's not playing games with us at all. The enemy loves to play games with us, but I think God was using it as an allegorical word. And the other day I was praying and I felt like the Lord said, I'm going to inspire you. I'm going to write under inspiration. And I began to write a word and I felt possessed by God when I was writing it. And it was all about the season that we're coming into. It's a great pivot. It's been happening for a couple of years. I think 2023 is going to be kind of the end final, the finish line of this pivot. But we're Christians all over the body of Christ. God is telling us to go into new places and do new things that we haven't done before. So some people, God's saying, sell the house and move. Some people, God's saying, move to a new church. God's saying, start the business, write the book, write the CD or make the CD project, whatever it is, but create the new stream of income. But there's such an inspirational Holy Spirit in so many people right now. And the word it was a warning that if you don't listen and actually do what's in your spirit, in your gut, in your intuition, in your instinct of what God's putting inside of you, then you're going to miss that blessing or that grace place where that word will bring you that you can't bring yourself. You have to follow God to get where he has you going. And you don't want a man-made result. You want a God result in this next season. So the warning is don't miss it by double thinking it or by questioning it or trying to get 10 more confirmations. But if it feels like God, even if it's scary or if it's challenging, if it feels like God is leading you, do what he's leading you and take a great big risk of faith, because the reward is on the other end of faith. And God's doing this globally because he's setting up the world right now, because he's putting the enemy in check in media. He's putting the enemy in check in politics. He's putting him in check in environmental issues. And so globally right now, God's positioning Christians strategically to be his voice, his hands, his heart, to actually mobilize something that's really the next great move of God. And we're part of that. And I think it's been happening the last few years, even after the pandemic was released. People began to move all over, realize I don't need to be stuck here in this city or this place or this thing. Or people changed careers, people changed all kinds of people, got married, people all had more babies, whatever it was. But there's a lot of God direction and there's a lot more direction, but it's not coming from other prophetic voices or from someone else outside of you. God is speaking to his people. God is speaking specifically to us as individuals, and many people are discounting it. And again, the warning is don't discount what you're hearing. Don't do something stupid, but it may feel foolish.
Yes, and this is an urgent word. Those who are watching on a YouTube, I'm going to encourage you guys to share with your family, friends, because I believe that we are in a time and season that where we asking so many questions but refuse to change over where we are. You're asking God for new levels and new things and open doors of heaven, but we are refusing to like even see that, hey, what God requires of us. But I really love that you were saying like even people moving into different cities. Do you think that sometime we are over blessings, or the way we are not growing, it's because we are in a wrong place or planted in the
Oh,
wrong ground?
absolutely. I think there's a geographical blessing for us. I think there's an industry blessing for us, kind of a grace zone, so to speak, of what you're called to, who you're called to be around. I remember prophesying of this one girl, and she always had a feeling of like being the outsider here in America. And I said, the reason, and I didn't know her at all, I'd never met her before. I called her out and I actually said her name. And I said, "Is your name Catherine?" She said, "Yes." And I said, "You have always felt like the outside looking in here in America, in the place you live, because you're actually called to thrive in another nation, and you're called to be with another people group that God's made you for. He's made you a fit for, but he raised you in America because he wanted to give you a foundation that you wouldn't have gotten there. But he wants to give you to this other nation. You're going to find those covenant relationships there that you've never found here." And she began to weep. She never even thought about moving to another nation, and it never even crossed her head. But when she received the word, she saw a people group in South America that she was supposed to go to, moved to a nation as a teacher, ended up meeting her husband there, and is now like her family, her friends. She's never had such a close connection to life. She said, "I felt like a fish out of water, the most disconnected person, but I'm really Latin inside, even though I'm a white woman. I'm really like a Latino." And she's like, or Latina, but I didn't realize that until God put me in the place of that prophetic word to activate it. And I think a lot of times we don't realize like there's a famine that takes place sometimes in the land, and that famine that can be a bad thing for us, or could actually be a good thing. I mean, Joseph's brothers went to Israel because the famine, they would have, or not Israel, Egypt, because the famine, they would have never had any reason to go to Egypt and meet their brother who actually brought divine providence, and it changed everything for them. And I feel like, or this season of financial, intensity is actually a pressure cooker, so we could cook something in our spirit with God to make big change and to see a big transition happen.
Wow, that's awesome. And what do you feel that people are right now, although economically, America, especially, not just only America, but whole world is like feel like collapsing.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, if I tell myself, I don't tell people, if the worst time to invest, I feel like I chose the worst time to invest in in the market, because everything is cryptocurrency is going down, and also stock market is 60 to 70% is down. Do you think we are going in a recession, or do you feel like it's
Well,
prophetically God is preparing a place? And like a lot of
yeah.
prophets saying, like even though a lot of things are happening, but God is gonna, the people, the remnant is gonna be in a place of like Goshen, like Israelites being in Goshen in Egypt.
I mean, I think all that has some merit. I think like generally, I think we are in a recession, right?
Yeah.
So we're already there, but it's a weird recession because there's people who are still prospering really well. I think of like some of these big tech companies, they needed to reshuffle. I mean, it's good that Twitter was losing so much money a month. So when Elon took it over, he fired 8,000 people or whatever. And it's good that Meta, who's been a religiously intolerant group, is having to let go 11,000 people right now and rethink how they're doing everything they're doing. It's
Yeah.
good that there's pressure divinely on Disney, where they've lost 2/3 of their wealth as a company, that they're 2/3 of their stock price. It's good that, because companies are having to think, does wokeism work? Does this liberal politics and philosophy work? And it's not working.